Why do I get back pain from standing? That's one of the most common questions that I get, particularly in people age 40 and above. I'm Dr. Dave Candy, and in this video, I'm going to tell you what makes back pain from standing so common in people over the age of 40, and what you can do to get your back to stop hurting when you're standing. Now, if you find this video helpful, give it a like or thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel so you can get notified of our future videos. So first of all, why might your back hurt when you're standing? Largely, it has to do with one of two things. Either the joints in your back pressing on one another and causing compression between the joints, or a narrowing of the spaces where the nerve roots, these little yellow things on the spine model, come out. And if you have a pinched nerve, it can cause you pain into your buttock or even down into your leg. Now, the functional problem that causes those is really the same, whether you just have localized back pain when you're standing or whether you get pain that goes down into your leg when you're standing. And that's largely due to having too much arch in your back like that. That when you stand with your back too arched like that, it compresses the joints in your back together. It kind of jams these little joints called facet joints into one another, and they can compress on each other. If you're walking, they can actually kind of rub on each other and cause some irritation. Now, if you lose some space between the vertebrae because they just naturally dry up and you lose a few inches as you age, that can also start to pinch on the nerve roots in your back and cause the pain down into your leg. So what do you do about it? Do you just say, I'm just getting older, there's nothing I can do, my spine's degenerating, which you may have heard from a doctor or seen on an MRI? How can you stop the back pain when you're standing if you've lost some height in the discs in your back? Well, it doesn't mean you have to stop standing. It doesn't mean you have to stop walking or exercising or being active. It just means you have to be a little bit more careful about how you do things and be a little more mindful of the position you're putting your back in. That when you arch your back backwards like that, it jams the joints together even more and makes the spaces where the nerves in your back come out, it makes those spaces a little bit narrower. So contrarily, when you bend forward, or if you bend away from the side that's hurting, it actually kind of opens up the spaces where the nerve roots come out in your back. And it also opens up the spaces between the joints, so that when you're standing or when you're walking, that you don't have the joints jamming together like that in your back, causing back pain. You don't have the nerve roots getting pinched and causing leg pain. So how do you relieve the pressure off the joints and the pressure off the nerves when you're standing? Well, largely you make your back a little bit flatter, a little bit more like that. Now, it doesn't mean you have to walk around slouched over like that all day, but just kind of tucking your pelvis underneath of you, it opens up the spaces between the joints, it opens up the spaces where the nerves come out, and can make you hurt much less when you're standing or when you're walking. So the way you can do that is to roll your pelvis underneath of you. Kind of think about tucking your belly in and squeezing your bottom muscles a little bit. It may cause your knees to bend, especially if you have tight hip flexors, and that is something that is a very common problem in people who have back pain when they're standing or back pain when they're walking. And I have some other videos that will explain some different ways that you can stretch your hip flexors, and I would advise you do that and check those videos out, because that's one of the things that will make standing much easier for you if you can get better flexibility in your hip flexors. So again, you roll your pelvis underneath, kind of tighten your bottom muscles. If you have to, bend your knees a little bit if you have tight hip flexors, and that'll allow you to stand with your back a little bit flatter like that, as opposed to standing really arched. So it's going to really feel like you're slouching if you do that, especially if you're used to standing really straight, standing up with good posture like everyone tells you to. It's going to feel like you're slouched over like this. If it doesn't, you're probably not going far enough. So stand with the pelvis tucked under, roll your trunk over a little bit so it opens up the spaces in your spine, and that'll help you to stand much more comfortably. Now, that can be an effort for people, especially if you have really tight back muscles or really tight hip flexors. It's going to feel like you're straining to do that. You may not be able to maintain it for very long, and certainly not all day. Now, there's some stretches like the hip flexor stretches or some stretches for the back muscles that will make that easier to do. There are also some hands-on treatment techniques that we can do in the office to get the tissue stretched out a little bit, make the muscles less stiff, relieve some pressure off the joints, and help you to move a little bit easier. And if you do need some help to make it easier to stand and to tilt under and stay in good posture all day, we'd be happy to do that here. Now, another common question that I get about people who have back pain with standing is, would a back brace help? And to some extent, yeah, they can be helpful. There are certain ones, the ones that just wrap around tight. I'm not a big fan of those. They really just cause more compression on your spine. And if the compression of the joints on one another is what's causing you some back trouble when you're standing, that's really not going to help things. It just makes everything tighter together. Now, one thing that is helpful in a brace that I do actually kind of like is one that wraps around. It has a pump and it actually inflates this way. It decompresses your spine, takes some pressure off the joints, and can make it more comfortable to stand, particularly if you have to stand for a long period of time. Now, is it a permanent fix? No, it's a Band-Aid. It gives you some relief, and if you have to, say, go to a wedding or go out to some event, or you're going to be playing golf, or you're going to be standing at work all day, those things can be helpful to get you through a short period of time. But you still want to address the root cause of the problem, which largely is if you can spend more time during your day like that and less time during your day like that, your back's probably going to feel better, and you're probably going to be able to stand longer and to walk longer with less pain. Another question I get is about inversion tables. Can inversion tables help? Well, very much like that back brace that unloads you, the inversion tables can be helpful, but again, they're a Band-Aid. They don't solve the root cause of the problem. Now, if you'd like to find the root cause of your problem so that you can keep your back pain from coming back in the future, we'd be happy to help. Just give us a call or reach out and we'll set you up with an appointment and help you find out what you can do to get a more permanent fix to the problem so that you're not having to rely on back braces, not having to rely on inversion tables, and don't have to keep going to the doctor or the chiropractor or even to the physical therapist for the rest of your life. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like or thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you can get notified of our future videos. Thanks and have a great day.